Welcome to the pregame press conference for the 2012 Pac-12 Football Championship game. We'll go ahead and get started with Stanford coach David Shaw. Coach, an opening remark, getting ready for the game tomorrow.
No, I'll start with questions.
All right, we'll go ahead and take questions. If you have a question for Coach, please raise your hand. We'll get a handheld microphone to you.
Hi, Coach. I'm just curious now that you've gone through it this week, how you would describe what this week has been like, and how even today might be different than a normal day before a game with having to come here and rearrange the schedule.
Well, so far this has been the only change. Right now we'd be getting ready for chapel, but it's been a good practice week. Typical practice week. It wasn't perfect. We had one day that started off rough that we picked it up, but the guys understand that they have to play well. And that's what it boils down to. It's not we have to do something different, we have to do something out of character for us. We've got to execute. We're going to try and play better this week than we did last week.
And then also, Drew Terrell, is he good to go, or is that sort of...
Drew's good to go. Full speed yesterday. He's fired up, ready to go.
Hey, Coach, congratulations, first of all. Can you explain, in the world of kind of the mental, emotional element side of sport, how different it is to play the same team twice when you won? It's so rare in college football. Did that come up at all this week from your perspective among your players?
A little bit. I mean, it started by the coaches, just to make sure that our guys put that last game behind them, and we prepared like this was a new opponent, and we didn't have to scrap our game plan. But at the same time, there are things that we didn't do well that we want to do better. There are things that we did well that we want to do better also. But there's also minor tweaks and changes that we had anyway. So there was a lot of stuff to practice based on mistakes that we made a week ago and things that we want to either do better or things that we've changed.
David, the fact that both staffs have so much NFL experience, does that make playing a team twice in 1 year, I mean, that you kind of would know what that experience is about, I would think, for both teams?
I think that is true, and I don't think it's a real advantage for either, just because we've been through that, and there is a certain amount of carryover game plan wise in all three phases, but at the same time you have to tweak it, you have to change it, you have to give them something different to think about. You have to give your players something different to think about so that they don't kind of feel like it's kind of the same old thing over again. So we have things we had to work on, things that we added, things that we changed, and we want to make sure we perfected that when we play tomorrow night.
David, can you explain what you know of the tarp situation on the field and what you expect from the tarp pond?
The field, from what my knowledge, has been really good. It got covered today, so it'll be covered all night. It'll be covered all morning. So we'll keep a lot of the rain off of it. Very grateful to our athletic director and our whole team, Nick Bernard, and those guys have done a great job making sure that the field's in the best possible playing condition.
Coach, I'm curious, is this working? Which head coach has the tougher job, or had the tougher job this week? Coach Mora trying to game plan against the team that beat his team convincingly just last week, or you trying to counsel your team against complacency?
I think they're both hard. I think everything is hard. And I think every head coach approaches everything as hard. It's winning games. There's so much that goes into trying to win a football game that you have to look at where you are and look at your challenges and attack those challenges. So I wouldn't know that one is easier than the other. I think both are significant, and both we have to put a lot of attention and time into.
Coach, talk a little bit about UCLA, what it's like matching up with them a second week, keeping that offense under control. Brett Hundley, Jonathan Franklin, 2 weeks in a row.
That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because they were on a clip where they'd won 5 straight. I think they were averaging about 42 points a game. That team didn't go away. They didn't disappear last week. We played well. They missed some things. There were some things that were open. They had some chances that thankfully went our way. But at the same time, we know the same group's coming back. And all those games that we looked at before we played them, those things are still valid. And they still have one of the best running backs in the nation, one of the best young quarterbacks in the nation, an unstoppable force at tight end. That's tough to match up with. a premier pass rusher coming off the edge, as well as good tackling defense. So none of those things have changed. The last week's score is inconsequential right now. Now it's our best against their best, and now they're going to give us their best game, or hopefully give them our best game.
Along those lines, do you expect Hundley to run more this game and get outside the tackles a bit more than he did last week?
I expect they're going to do everything better than they did before. I mean, he's an athletic quarterback, and a lot of the best runs, just like he did a week ago, sometimes the best runs are on passes, where you drop back and you push up in the pocket and you take off. There were a couple times we had him balled up, and he got out of it. And that's what an athletic quarterback does for you. Kevin Hogan does the same thing for us. So for us, we got to make sure everybody's doing their jobs. Nobody tries to do too much and get themselves out of position. And hopefully we can rally to the ball.
Coach, based on what you've seen from the film from earlier games this season in comparison to what you saw last week, do you feel like the play calling and everything that UCLA was doing was consistent?
Absolutely. They tried to attack us different ways. Like I said, some things just went our way. We got a couple of penalty calls that helped. They dropped a couple balls, and they don't drop very many balls. And there were a couple times that they were about to get out, and we got a shoestring tackle, which was great. They were completely in character. I anticipate them just trying to do their jobs, just doing better. And I think it's going to be a heck of a football game.
Coach, Ben Ryan hasn't played very much this year, and in this game now he's going to be not only punting but holding for Jordan Williamson. How concerned are you about his situation and what he'll be able to provide for you?
He's been practicing great. You never know, of course, until you get into a game, and I know we put him into a game at Duke a year ago, and just to kick off, and he kicked it out the back of the end zone. And Ben's been with us the entire time. Our special teams coach does a great job, Pete Alomar, in that he doesn't coach a position on offense or defense, so he's with those guys all the time. So he's been getting coached every single day. He's been getting worked with technique-wise every single day. He holds every single day. So for him, it's just now doing it when it counts, doing it, and he's repped it over and over and over again. We have trust and faith in him.
Coach, okay. With the prospect of rain, is field position maybe a little bit more important in this game?
I think it is. I think it's important every game, of course, but the rain doesn't really affect our style very much at all. We're going to run the ball. We have good coverage teams, good kickers, and we have good defense. So we're going to try to make sure we do play field position. When you get a chance to get in the red zone, you got to score touchdowns, and hopefully we'll be able to do that.
Any further questions for Coach? All right, David, thank you. We'll get Coach Moore in for a photo opportunity with the two coaches here. 1 second.